Welcome back, everybody. We're here to pull cards for October the 14th. I am going to be pulling one card for overall energy of the day, and then I'll be pulling a card for each sign to see about the more individual energies for each day. And we'll look at how those play out together to get a good idea about what's going on for us all. If you know your sun sign, you can look at your sun sign, sure enough. If you know your rising sign, then you know all your houses. You can get a lot of information if you're checking out your houses on a quick little video like this. Overall energy shows up as the Seven of Wands. Seven of Wands can show up generally the same, but to different degrees. So it talks about holding your own, setting boundaries, keeping boundaries. It can talk about defending something that you already own, making sure that nobody takes it away. So can also talk about keeping that bubble pure, being careful about who we let in. Let's see what comes up along with this. All right, Aries, Ace of Swords showing up here. Aries, this is telling me that you are coming to a new understanding about what your boundaries should actually be, ideally for you in your life. So for some of you, this is going to be understanding that, wow, my boundaries are a little too high. I'm not letting in some of the good stuff. For others of you, you're going to be realizing, whoa, I need to put up some boundaries just so that all of my good stuff doesn't disappear and leave me feeling depressed and depleted and lonely. So, boundaries, new understanding about boundaries and what's appropriate in your life, Aries. Next, we're looking at Taurus. Eight of Cups coming up in reverse. Taurus, I feel like we are walking back to a situation that left us feeling depleted before or exhausted, but we're coming back into that old situation, but with new boundaries in place to make sure that it doesn't take the same toll on us that it used to. Gemini, High Priestess, definitely protecting the energy today, protecting that whole vibe, the whole energy, not letting people poke and prod at the aura, not letting people drag your energy down, making sure you keep the vibes high. That's what I've got going on for you, Geminis. Cancers, Hierophant. Cancers, you guys are making a very firm commitment to yourself about the type of boundaries you're going to keep in place moving forward. You could be making some type of legal commitment about boundaries as well. So you could be purchasing land or purchasing really anything else that has very well defined boundaries, committing to something that has boundaries. But for most of you, I feel like if you're not purchasing something that has some very well defined boundaries, and that's probably not most of you, that's probably 15 to 30% of you. The rest of you, this is committing to the idea of I am holding up my standards, I am holding up my boundaries, I am not settling, and I am not letting people roll over me. All right. Now, who was that? That's Cancers. It's kind of a big deal for a water sign to do that. Good for you. Leos, Leos, Leos. Star cards showing up in reverse. Ba, ba, da, 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 da. Leos, this just tells me that you guys know what kind of standards you need to set for yourself and what kind of boundaries should be up. However, even though you know what you should be doing, you're a little, I think you're afraid that you're not really going to do it, that you won't have the backbone to do it, or that you won't have the ability to maintain these standards. Okay. So you know what kind of standards you need to keep. You're just feeling like, yeah, but that's not possible for me. All right. Really important to look at why. Why do you feel like that's not possible for you? What makes you less capable than somebody else? You know, and Even more importantly, maybe you just do it in a different way. What are some alternatives that you could pursue to keep your standards up? All right, so things to think about. Let's look at Virgo. Three of Cups showing up in reverse for Virgos. Ba ba da da. Virgos, I think you know you have some so-called friends who are a little bit sneaky and underhanded. With the Seven of Wands, I think you're keeping your distance from them. You're not letting them into your space. You're like, you know what, I'm just fine without you over here. With friends like you who needs enemies, y'all stay over there. All right, so that's Virgo. Next up, we're looking at Libra. King of Swords showing up in reverse for Libras. Da, 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 da. Libras, I feel like you're grumpy. I'm trying to figure out what this has to do with the boundaries or the standards, though. Libras, I feel like you're feeling grumpy because you do have certain boundaries, certain standards that you expect people to live up to if they're going to be around you. And I think you're feeling kind of grumpy because you're at a point right now where you're questioning, do I need to lower my standards? Is there nobody that can live up to my standards? And I don't think that is sitting well with you. I don't think you're going to lower your standards, but I do think that you're feeling pretty moody and unsettled because it's not as easy as you thought it would be to meet other people with these same standards, whether you're looking for people with high standards to work with in the business side of life or the romantic side of life or whatever. I don't know where this is in your life, but I think that you're not very happy that you have to question whether you have to let down your standards just to find somebody to collaborate with or not. All right, next up, let's look at Scorpio. Scorpio. Three of Wands showing up in reverse, along with the Seven of Wands overall. Ba, ba, da, da. Scorpios, this just tells me that with your boundaries, you're playing them pretty loose. Meaning that your boundaries are flexible depending on what's going on in the moment. You're just doing what feels most appropriate at that moment. Doesn't mean that you're letting somebody walk over your boundaries, but it does mean that, you're letting intuition guide what boundaries you want to have when, and you're not really making any ultimatums or setting anything in stone. You're leaving room for flexibility in your boundaries, being very much in the moment, in the present, and very aware. Next up, we're looking at Sagittarius. Okay, Sagittarius, Eight of Swords. Sagittarius, I think that you are thinking and rethinking what your boundaries and your standards are. I think that you are wondering whether you should keep the boundaries the way they are or change them. And I think you can see pros and cons to either way, and that has you sort of thinking in circles. That has you to where you're having a hard time making a decision here. All right, so then after that was Sag. Yep, Capricorn. So Capricorn's Two of Wands showing up in reverse. Boop-a-dee-doo-doo-doo-doo. Capricorns, you're in a situation where I feel like you think that you need to keep your boundaries up. I think you feel like you have no choice but to keep your boundaries up or keep your standards up in whatever situation that we have showing up today. You don't feel like you have the option of letting down the boundaries or overlooking the rules right now. Okay. Next up, we're looking at Aquarius. Page of Swords showing up in reverse, along with that Seven of Wands overall. Ba-ba-da-da, ba-ba-da-da. Okay, so Aquarius, I think that you are doing some research on something. You're finding some information or digging for some information. And I think that as you're doing this, you may even be studying But as you're doing this, you are not letting just anybody and everybody float into your energy and distract you. You're staying very focused with it today. Okay, that's Aquarius. Next up, we're going to look at Pisces. Pisces, I think that today it's really tempting for you to throw a pity party and to isolate yourself. So, you know, we all know that's not really good news. That doesn't help us in any way, either one of those. So if you catch this energy coming in, then you may want to sort of head it off at the pass. When we're not feeling good, it's important to have other people around that can help us, even if we're talking to them about the same thing. But a lot of times they can get us to laugh and joke and to feel better. And feeling better is important, very important. So try to avoid the whole isolation thing. And also with that Four of Cups, it talks about sitting in your own juices and stewing, having that pity party. You want to acknowledge the emotions that you're having. You want to acknowledge your disappointments, but you don't want to stew in that juice. That'll make you bitter. So you want to acknowledge and release. Don't try to have the pity party. In fact, try not to have the pity party. Okay? So is that everybody? That's everybody. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for being here today. Don't forget to leave your feedback down below. It's always interesting to hear how this stuff plays out. And then also share this video with others and put a thumbs up on it so people know, it's worth watching. Everybody have a fantastic day. Peace out.